All right, we're live.
Welcome, everybody. Episode 6 of Amateur Hour with Tim, and Carter. A lot of news. There's been a lot of news in the last, 10 days since we last recorded. I have a few topics that we wanted to discuss, but I think the main thing going on right now, or maybe it just ended, I don't know, as we're recording this, is that there's a press conference going on with in the Oval Office with President Trump and Elon, kind of discussing um, Elon leaving, whatever you want to call it, the administration, Doge, I guess both. And I have not had a chance to see exactly what has been said, but bottom line is Elon is taking a step back, and probably a few different reasons, but one of them is, you know, the big beautiful bill that kind of sort of makes that undermines some of the Doge cuts that has been implemented, or at least been attempted to be implemented. And I think Carter wanted to speak on that, but yeah, it's interesting
Yeah,
nonetheless.
yeah. I haven't seen the clips either, but just from
Mhm.
the still
Literally just
shots,
happened. In
yeah,
fact,
from
I'll check and see it as you're talking here, Carter, if it's even still going on. It may
yeah,
still be.
some of the just the vibe I got from just like reading a couple quick things while it was going on. It seems like, in my opinion, Trump's got him in there trying to sugarcoat his exit a little bit, And Trump, I guess the big headline now is Trump saying he's leaving, but he's really not leaving. This is his baby. He'll still be involved, all this stuff. But clearly, last week we saw a couple interviews where Elon voiced his disgust for the big, beautiful bill, and rightfully so. He's doing all this work. He's doing all these news interviews with his entire team on some of them, and they're uncovering all this stuff,
Hmm.
and they're still funding it. And one I want to bring up in particular that drives me up the wall is this bill apparently still has the funding that we're sending over to Afghanistan that's going to the Taliban. And that's something that the Sean Ryan show actually brought up before anybody, like 7, 8 months ago. And it's a bill that's been sitting in Congress. It hasn't been taken seriously. Tim Burchett's kind of leading the charge, and uh, they can't get any traction. So here we are, month
So you saying
four,
money's still going to Afghanistan through you said?
like 40 million a
Well,
week.
No kidding.
And
Has that been is that one of the cuts that some random federal judge stopped?
I don't know the particulars, but from what I've seen, it appears that the funding that they're using for that is still in the big beautiful bill. So in essence, we are still going to fund the Taliban,
Yeah,
and
that is
it's like
insanity.
40 to 50 million bucks a week. And basically, how it works, Sean Ryan had a CIA targeter that's been on his show a bunch named Sarah Adams. She's awesome. I disagree with her on a few things, but she's brilliant, and she like breaks it down. Like, this is how it works. We send this in. They send really pallets of cash to Afghanistan. The problem
Yep.
is that Afghanistan was their government was ran out when we left Abbey Gate and left them high and dry, and the Taliban took over. So basically, it leaves the pallet, and once it gets to the relief aid for the Afghanis, it's been skimmed out almost. I don't know the percentage, but it's a lot.
Most of
It's
it, I'm
been
sure.
skimmed out by most of it, and it's going to fund their weapons, their recruiting, their training. We're funding our enemy,
Terrorist organization.
and the fact that that itself should be a main headline, and no one's talking about it. Every American, this is a non. This should be a non-political issue. This is just a humanitarian and a safety issue.
yeah.
1,000%. And there's 1,000 things that's going on in this world right now that should not be a political issue, and for some reason we are divided on it. I can't figure out why, but um,
Well,
to
we're
the
divided on it because of the media.
the
That's
media,
that's
exactly.
the only reason
By
we're
the way,
divided.
the press conference is still going on, and
That's over an
uh,
hour long.
yeah, and Musk did say some highlights or some quotes here that Doge will go on and he will continue to be an advisor to President Trump. So
It's great it's going on, but they got
to implement some
gotta-
stuff. They got to stick to it. They got to
do
make these cuts. I get it. It's insane. And I think that something needs to change with these federal judges that stop cuts. Flat out USAID. We've all heard
That's my
the laundry.
question. Why aren't there other judges countering these judges that are blocking these cuts, like suing them? Like, how is this all coming
it's
one
the
way?
most
I mean,
insane thing.
I don't know what codify the Doge cuts even means.
Is there very many conservative judges? Because most lawyers are liberal, so just because
That's a great point, but you'd think there'd be some out there.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago that Trump had 4 years, was nominating judges left and right, but we did have 8 years of Obama. Prior to that, George W. Bush, but there's got to be some, but it always seems to be, I never remember hearing that during the Obama administration or the Biden administration when they would put something through executive order wise, which both of them did a ton of, and all of a sudden you heard some judge swatted it or whatever. Maybe a handful of times, but like literally every single thing that Trump has tried to put through, whether it's these deportations of illegals or the Doge cuts to USAID and other places, some judge comes in and swats it. Yeah. Tariffs now, that came out, yesterday, the day before. I don't, it's mind-boggling to me. And
it doesn't matter what he does. They just don't want him to do anything.
They don't want to have him have any type of success or to get his agenda through in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But I get the frustration. You find millions or billions of dollars, Doge does, and then a bill is put forth that basically tosses it out the window. And I don't quite understand all of the ins and outs of that. I did hear, like we mentioned before we started recording, I did hear somebody say, whether it was Mark Levin or somebody mentioned that the tariffs that Trump wants to put in place on various countries would potentially counteract the spending bill. I don't know what the numbers look like, but that was the point that they were making, is that the tariffs would bring in enough cash to justify the spending bill. So we'll see where that goes. But
that's just, that's just hard to think. But maybe, I don't know. It'd be nice if we could stop funding the Taliban. I'm trying to pull up a Tim Burchett. God, this thing is messed up. But keep going. Sorry, guys.
Well, I just feel like maybe he's got a few things in that bill that he's trying to push through, and he's keeping all of these expenditures in place so that people vote for the bill. So he's going to get a minority of that through. And from some of the stuff I've listened to, we've got hundreds of trillions of dollars in, resources, whether it's oil, minerals, whatever, not only on land, but also like 200 miles out around in the ocean. So if he could monetize something like that, say we monetize $30 trillion of 400 trillion, cut out the deficit, get through some of his, things he likes in the bill. That's the only thing I can think of.
I have no doubt there's got to be a lot of give and take to get a bill like that pushed through.
Yeah, there is for sure.
There's no such thing as a perfect bill, obviously. No. But you do hear about things like you mentioned, Carter, funding Afghanistan. I can't figure that one out.
I just pulled this up. So Doge has found 1,000 NGOs in Afghanistan. Over 1,000. And in the last few years, we've sent over $5 billion there.
Yep.
So not only is it going to the Taliban, it's also getting laundered back, apparently, to some Congress folks.
Well, that sounds about right.
That's just disgusting.
That's disgusting. Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to take a look at this press conference and see what exactly said between Trump and Elon, which is what I'm going to do later today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta look into that, and that'll be the next episode. We'll talk some more about that once we hear some more info.
It'll be interesting to see if Elon shows any, in front of Trump, talks about this big, beautiful bill that's not, making any cuts after all the work they put in. To see what he says.
Yeah.
hopefully it's honest. Hopefully they kind of go back and forth a little bit, not just
Yeah.
to parade each other around and say we're all good.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, it's just, we do all these nice things, all these nice sound bites, and then we just don't see any action. It just it's really frustrating. And then, I know the next thing we were kind of wanting to talk about that kind of goes along with this, we had a lot of lip service about Epstein, and that's still not gone anywhere. In fact, we're regressing. It seems like now we've got Bongino and Cash Patel in a media tour the last week trying to convince us that he didn't kill himself after I think Bongino had dozens of episodes where he was like, he didn't kill himself. And now he's like, well, I saw some stuff. And now they want to release a video, which is extremely weird. And
I thought the video was they didn't have video. I thought that's the original things that they didn't have.
The camera was off. The camera was off in the
thing. They do have video, and he did kill himself. Wow, you know what I'm saying? Nothing makes sense.
My question is why? What would be the for Cash Patel or Dan Bongino to lie though? What would be the reasoning on that?
There's only in my mind, there's two scenarios. One, they're compromised, and there's been threats on their families, which is possible. And two,
but by who? Who would that be?
Who do you think's behind Epstein? I know who I think is.
Yeah.
Mossad.
Yeah.
Our CIA. People that have done some really bad shit and don't want to get caught. And there's outside of just the pedophilia thing, they're all linked to who knows what on these unnecessary wars that we fought. I mean, you name it, the worst of the worst people were involved in that. And
they want Epstein to go away. They want that whole thing to be gone.
And if they wait long enough, everyone that was involved will die off. Now, there's another scenario that, all the old like boomers and stuff that just love Trump and just he could do no wrong. They're like, he's using this as leverage and their day will come and blah, blah, blah. And that maybe, but it just doesn't, I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like if someone raped children, they should.
Why aren't they why aren't names been named yet?
Yeah. Yep. Send them to prison and then lever up on them to get a deal or something. But don't just let, it's really disturbing to me that we have compromised politicians still in office that were involved in this, and their decisions are going to be influenced by the powers behind the people that are involved in all this. It's crazy.
It seems also it's like an impossible task to defeat this sickness that's been around. I mean, it's decades long. We can't fix it in 5-6 months. 4 years, probably not.
Yeah.
I'd like to know why they haven't sat this Ghislaine Maxwell down and gotten more information out of her or released the interviews that they've had with her.
That is a great question.
That'd be a great, I think that would help. Why don't they, I'm sure that the interviews that the FBI had with her were recorded. If you're going to release one video, maybe they should release those videos that they have with her, because I'm sure in those videos names may have been named. Yeah. And they could release those videos, and I think at that point you could start to regain some trust, because that woman knows all. And so why hasn't her knowledge been made public? Right? I mean, she's in prison for how many years? I'm sure that there's a deal that could be cut with her to publicly name whoever.
Also, why aren't they pushing on Diddy? I mean, he kind of ran around in the same circles, and we got this shiny nickel over here. Look at this. We're working on getting Diddy. Oh my gosh! And meanwhile, all this other stuff's just ignored. And Diddy, he's on trial for stuff with Cassie, and it's not even on trial for which there's no excuse for some of the stuff I've heard in that, but the pedophilia stuff that he was involved with.
Yeah, the human trafficking. Well, technically, the trial that he's on is for human trafficking, right? Isn't this a human trafficking trial?
I don't think it is. I think it's just all about this Cassie stuff. I could be wrong.
She was a witness that got called.
Okay.
but it is a human trafficking trial, and they're just
Okay.
going through assistance, basically just laying the groundwork for, what kind of
Person. Yeah.
degenerate this guy is.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
hopefully that's, yeah.
I think I think it's to the point now where, all right, we got the idea. Let's start hearing that, because in all honesty, somebody made a good point. Everything that has been said so far, I guess short of like the buying drugs and different things, but the stuff that he did with, he's abusive to his girlfriend and the wild, sex parties and whatnot, all that's not really illegal to the degree that we're
Yeah.
looking for here. It's sickening and you know out of this world salacious, but it's not the trafficking of kids. I think that's where we need to get to.
Yeah.
You haven't heard
Get
about
to
that
the
yet.
down and dirty stuff that he
Yep.
needs to go down for, and then maybe he'll be able
Starts
to dime out some other
tweaking.
people.
The
Yep.
Molly pills with Obama's face are interesting.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that is weird.
What is that? And then, all the clips with he and Diddy. Yeah.
I told you guys. Did I ever tell you guys my Diddy story?
Whoa, what was this?
Did I tell you this one, Benham?
You told me before the pod started, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was working at I saw a lot of this actually. I was working at a
okay, yeah.
Shutters. Did I tell you this, Carter?
Yeah, but tell the audience.
I guess you were
Yeah.
on.
I worked at Shutters on the Beach Hotel in Santa Monica, and he was staying there, and I saw those male prostitutes coming in to
Did you
visit
see
his
the
room,
Punisher?
one after the next, man. I saw him come in. I saw him ask for his room number, how to get there, and I gave him directions. And I was like, and this was back before he had any clue that this was like, I don't know, 2008, 2010, something like that. And I was shocked. And then I could log on to the computers and see what videos they were renting, and that shocked me even more. Well, I guess I don't know about it even more, but it added to it. It was
Oh my gosh.
I watched it happen. Yep, I got a little
No wonder why I used to always say, take that, take that, take that.
Yep.
Jokes on us, because everybody's
Take
like, oh, that's cool. But they didn't know what he really meant.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. That is a crazy story, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I watched it. I told everybody about it after it happened, and as all this started shaking down, various people were like, "Dude, I remember you telling us that story way back when you told that story." It's like, I know, I told you, I wasn't lying, man.
I wasn't
watched it.
lying.
Yep.
There goes Carter. Where'd he go?
Did we lose you, Carter? Maybe a little tech diff, I guess, huh?
Maybe. Here he comes.
Coming back in.
I was trying to
There he
check
is.
my notes. Oh no, do I have two in here now? What have I done?
That's all right. You got a big enough personality to have two screens.
Yeah, my bad, guys.
It's all good.
But yeah, what was that? We had a couple other things.
Well, the Jake Tapper thing's
yeah.
that's interesting. What was it, a couple days ago? Carter, you sent us the link to Jake Tapper was on a show being interviewed or whatever, and there's a interview with him, and he talks about basically he was doing a liberal podcast, and he mentioned to the host that his 15-year-old son is a high school football player, and when he grows up, he wants to be a police officer. And the liberal hosts immediately went into, oh, wow, okay, well, what does he think? He wants to be a cop, huh? What's his opinion on minorities? Ha, 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 ha. And Tapper was like, man, we're talking about a 15-year-old kid that literally has no political opinion. All the kid wants to do is play football, play video games, hang out with his friends, and has aspirations of being a police officer when he gets older to help people. And you guys try to make it out, insinuate that there might be some underlying racism to that goal of being a cop. They asked him, what's his opinion on minorities? And Tapper's point, to his credit, was this is why you morons keep losing elections. Because there is a massive sect of this Democratic Party that continues to create this false narrative about the police and just this ultra left-wing social agenda that they have, that the majority of Americans don't agree with, and probably the majority of like decent Democrats don't agree with. But there's a large enough sect of these radicals that continue to push this crap, which is why they're losing elections. And
It's
to your
true.
point, Carter,
I think he called them mean or angry.
yeah,
Something.
just
I'm like,
which they all are. Let's be honest, they all
Hello?
are. They
they
all
literally
are.
just walk around just.
They're all
upset.
bitter.
Tapper is in a
bitter.
rough spot though.
Yeah,
Tapper
what's he
has
gonna?
pissed-
How's he gonna pivot from this? It's like the
Dude,
left hates him,
you have
the
like
right
if you go
hates
on,
him.
yeah, the left, this radical left wing, like if you go on Twitter right now, which is a whole nother topic about why the algorithm is completely infiltrated with radical left nut jobs, which is all I see. I follow none of them, but I keep seeing it all constantly. But they're all pissed at Tapper.
Yeah.
And then of course, the three of us and most conservatives are like, screw you, dude. You've been a
Dude,
CNN talking head. Just
There's no coming
absolute-
back.
Everything
Cuomo
he
tried-
did was so unforgivable. I
Yep,
mean,
so,
Chris Cuomo kind of made a little pivot into
Yeah,
the
Cuomo
conservative
tried to
side,
do
which
that
I was
too.
kind of shocked about.
Yeah.
Um,
But the whole COVID thing, I mean, he's got so much baggage that, I mean,
Yeah.
he's in a rough spot.
I
But
meant
at
to
least
send
he's
you all a clip of Laura Loomer, who I'm not. I mean, she's okay here and there. She's kind of got some weird views, but she went off on him. She saw him out in public somewhere and had it all on film, and like it was, he just sat there with his head down, just
Tapper, you're talking about?
oh yeah, just put him in a body bag about just the lies about pushing the whole time that Biden was okay, and now he's written this book, and all, yeah, like she just went, and he just was like, oh.
Speaking of Biden
Right
being
on the
okay, just moments ago, right before we started recording, there was a little video that came out about Biden that is hilarious. Why don't you play it? You could play it. It came
Yeah,
through.
let's see here.
You could play it on there. This is hilarious. This is our perfectly competent, absolutely sharp as a tack president. At least that's what the media told you.
Recently about your mental and physical capabilities when we're in office.
You can see that I'm mentally incompetent and I can't walk, and I can beat the hell out of both of them.
Do you want to reply to any of those reports, and also to the fact that there are some Democrats who are now questioning whether you should have run for re-election in the first place?
Why didn't they run against me then? Because I'd have beaten them.
Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't.
Apprentice, you mentioned
He just called himself incompetent and he can't walk. They literally
I'm
just
incompetent,
said,
I can't walk, and I can beat the
incompetent
hell
and
out
I
of both
can't
of them.
walk.
And he
Why
beat
didn't
the
they
hell out
run
of them.
against me then? Well, you are the sitting president of the United States, so. That's
Well, they
probably what
didn't
it is.
because the Democratic Party didn't let anybody run
And
against
the
him.
How many
media kept
times did he
saying
address the
everything over and
nation,
over
and his
again.
eyes were like, it was like he couldn't stay awake. He's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you actually do that pretty good, Carter.
That's pretty good. Hey,
Right.
Kentucky's up 3-0.
There you go. Good
That's
chats.
baseball.
Let's go. Dude just dropped a bomb, I think. Yeah, freaking Biden. I don't know. You know what? We didn't really talk about talking about this, but you know what's super strange to me that I will never, ever, ever be able to figure out? Do you remember when he was president, how many times he was getting interviewed in a fake White House? Did you ever
Oh,
see those videos?
Yeah,
There's
we
a
were just,
studio
yeah.
that looked
Yeah,
just
studio.
like the White House.
Well,
Just always found that interesting.
The entire thing was a facade. We talked
Yeah.
about the auto pen before we came on.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
We're talking about he's diagnosed. He just recently has been diagnosed with stage 5 prostate cancer, which has metastasized. You're talking about the president of the United States, who probably has the most extensive physical exam of anybody on the planet, at least on a yearly basis. Isn't it pretty common, at least as far as I know, that one of the things they check is your PSA level, which is a pretty easy, prostate cancer indicator. It's pretty easy to identify if someone has prostate cancer based off that. You would think they would give that to the president of the United States at any point during the last 4 years, and all of a sudden he just pops up with stage 4, whatever it is, prostate cancer.
So the question is, did they not test for it?
Why
did.
would they not? I mean, come on. You just
they
don't
didn't
test
tell
for it.
them though, because prostate cancer is fairly curable. If you catch
Either-
it,
When it's caught early, it's like 99%.
so they should have caught it 5 years ago.
You would think so, especially someone
That's
who's probably
what I'm
getting
saying.
an exam.
Did they even test for it? Because they just needed them sitting in there, and they didn't want to
Or he's
alarm.
really actually doesn't have it, and he's afraid he's about to get in trouble. So he's like, "Just leave me alone. I have cancer."
Well, it was a interestingly timed announcement based off the fact that those books were coming out regarding
Yeah,
the
right
cover
after the
up. So
Tucker book.
it all makes sense,
And
right?
I think I
You
saw
know.
last night regarding the auto pen and his physician. They've subpoenaed all of them.
Yeah,
All of his.
and it goes back to the beginning of Trump's term, where with just 3-4 months ago when Trump said all these pardons that Biden issued on the last day to all these various people that didn't do anything wrong, but just in case they did, they're pardoned. They were all done with an auto pen. So
Was
I
it
mean,
2,000? How many? Was it over 2,000 pardons?
all kinds of people too.
And over how long?
There was
time?
some blurb I saw where that they may have uncovered that his assistants were involved in like getting money for some of the pardons too.
Oh, I bet they were. Why wouldn't he capitalize on that? They capitalize on everything
rock
else.
on, I guess, man.
Yeah, they capitalize on everything else.
Oh, Trump pardoned Larry Hoover. I thought that was interesting. I don't understand that one at all.
By the way, this is something maybe you can explain it to me. I don't know if any of you guys know. Did you see yesterday he pardoned those
the Chrisleys?
Todd and Julie Chrisley?
Yeah, for tax evasion.
Tax evasion. They were serving like 12 years and 7 years respectively. And they just got out like literally yesterday, I think. He pardoned them, called the reality show couple, that big family or whatnot.
I mean, didn't they defraud banks of like $30 million or something?
Yeah, I thought whatever they did was bad.
I thought so too, but they also, I think they were sort of a target supposedly. But anyways, they're out now, so it's interesting.
I wonder what the motivation he pardoned Young Boy, and he pardoned Larry Hoover, which Larry Hoover was like a notorious drug kingpin in Chicago. Remember that Rick Ross song? They Mitch, Larry Hoover, give money.
Yeah, I'm not sure the details of any of those, but I did
he does
see that.
So much random stuff.
Yep.
I'm a little disappointed at him, but he's better than what we would have had if it wasn't him.
If anybody could get it done, it's this man. I'm convinced of that. He's not. He doesn't play the Washington game like every other politician. You got to give him that.
I still think Big Beautiful Bill is like a Trojan horse of sorts. I think we're going to find out some things as to what he's doing here, but maybe I'm wrong.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope there's a plan.
I know one last thing we wanted to mention, which kind of goes with this, as far as doesn't play the political games. I can't wait. It's already like come and gone. It was news for a day, maybe not even on mainstream media, but on the social media networks. But he went off on Putin last weekend, and I've never seen him do that.
He did.
And he said his exact words were, he has lost his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And if he keeps this up, he's like, we're going to deal with him. And they said, how do you plan on dealing with him? And he goes, why would I tell you? You're the fake news. I'm not going to tell you anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that was interesting.
About this. How are they going to, if he continues to be hard on Putin, how are they going to cover it? Benham, you said it. I know you texted, you're like, they just won't. And they may not. They haven't so far. But at some point, if this escalates, they're not going to be able to. He freaking went at China today. Did you see that?
I don't know.
I saw that too.
They can ignore pretty much anything they want to, at least to this point. We've seen it.
That's true.
These people are relentless. Like, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, the second Trump does that, they will just stop. They will completely stop covering that war. They'll completely stop covering it.
Could you imagine waking up every day, just be like, getting your coffee and turn on the TV and like watch Joe Scarborough or something? Like, I would literally just.
You're saying if you were Trump?
No, I'm just saying. Could you imagine
being that person?
Being that person.
It's like,
no.
To get your news.
Let's see how angry I can get, and just how they can just talk.
Let's listen to. Well, there's another guy, Joe Scarborough. The most he described what was less than a year ago. Biden this is the best Biden I have ever seen. He's the smartest man. I've known him forever. This is the best Biden. This guy is the sharpest guy in the room. Blah blah blah. Dude, are you kidding me?
There's some dirt on that man too. Have you ever looked into that? Holy crap,
Scarborough.
Dude, he should be in jail. and he's freaking on MSNBC. He had some aide that worked for him. He was in Congress or a senator, one of the two, and was allegedly, I think, maybe having an affair with her or something. I can't remember the whole story, but she just like randomly died in his office.
Is this while he was married to Merca?
Randomly died in his office.
Mm-hmm. Never was investigated. Just died.
That reminds me, this was a week or two ago, but Trump tweeted out, or at least forwarded out the tweet of that video about Hillary and all the
Dude.
see that he sent that out there, and if you're listening and you're so inclined, look it up because it is pretty interesting. Hillary is linked to a lot of
deaths, over 60 deaths.
Like literally, there are a lot of them. There's nobody on the planet that's linked to that. You know, who has this happen to so many people that they work with or they work for or they, compete against or whatever. Nobody on the planet's ever had this kind of,
special place in
damage.
hell for that family. I can tell you that right now. 100%.
There really is. The House of Cards kind of reminded me of the Clintons.
Oh yeah, the Clintons for
yeah.
sure. Hillary Clinton is that, no doubt. Yeah, she really is.
And
That was my introduction to paying attention to DC being corrupt.
They had that one guy, I think his last name was Middleton or something, but he was one of their attorneys. They've had several attorneys, several aides, I think a chef.
All kinds of people.
But this guy was not a few years ago, and they found him on his property hanging from a tree, but he had also shot himself somewhere in the chest, and the gun was nowhere near him, and they never found any bullets. It was the gun, basically, could you imagine hanging from a tree, shooting yourself, and then just throwing the shotgun?
That is honestly
it's what?
That's one of several completely
Could you imagine?
outrageous
asphyxiation
examples.
Kicks in. This isn't working. I'm going to shoot myself and then just chuck the shotgun. Blow my stomach up.
The hang shot.
This is how stupid people are, and they still worship the Clintons, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
There's a long list of them.
Just
Yeah,
worship Jesus and stick to that, and everything will be all right.
Yeah, that's true. God bless.
Well, boys.
Yesterday was the Ascension Day, 40-day. That was the 40th day when he ascended back into heaven. So,
Amen.
Amen.
Big plans for the weekend? Anybody got anything good?
Dance recital for my daughter tomorrow. Then I'm off to a dude canoe trip in Missouri.
Nice.
on
Good.
Sunday.
Dude, canoe trip. That's fun.
That sounds like
Hey.
sounds like the beginning of a movie that I once watched called Deliverance.
Got a pretty mouth on you, boy.
Yeah.
Let's hope that doesn't
Let's
happen.
hope that doesn't happen.
I'll be packing my 9 milli in case.
There we go.
That or a bear. I don't know what I'd be more scared of.
Well, have fun on your
Yeah.
trip. I'm playing golf. That's about it.
Nice.
Good for you, man. I got
Yeah.
baseball and kid stuff, but
We got a little baseball practice tonight. Got to keep getting them reps in the off season.
there
Good
you
luck.
go.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think we all I think I'm curious to see some highlights from this Doge Elon Trump press conference, and
Me
hopefully
too.
hopefully there's some interesting nuggets in there, and I say we reconvene and maybe chat about those
And
And
go
whatever-
Cats.
and whatever else happens over
Let's
the
hope
next
the
couple
Cats
days.
pull this win off today. That'd be huge.
Yep. Go Cats. See you guys. Talk soon.
See y'all.
All right, boys.